we looked into if large language models can adapt to different stages of meaning making, to different person perspectives. So for example, we took 12 advanced large language models and we prompted them to look at reality more like a developing budding child or a teenager, a mid-aged professional, or an elderly. But they don't necessarily, these stages, correlate with age, but that's how you can roughly think of it. That's the strongest correlate we have to these stages of meaning making. And how you measure this is traditionally by sentence completion tests. So you start with a word like education ... and please finish that sentence. Now, of course, that's a perfect test for large language models, but this test has been set up more than 60 years ago and has been verified hundreds of times. The Washington Sentence Completion Test turns out that it's a perfect test to test large language models, and it's extremely difficult to manipulate also for humans. And so we take, for example, Gemini 2.0 Flash, and it will respond that education is the key that unlocks the door to countless possibilities. Then we take human coders, and it's a quite sophisticated coding process. These coders have been trained for a long time. Using natural language processing as a measurement tool hasn't worked so well for us. It's a really intricate coding process, and human coders, which we paid, classified this response as 3.5, which is the default for Gemini 2.0 Flash, and it's also the average of corporate leaders in human society. It's called the achiever stage. Now we can also prompt the large language models to act from a lower stage of stage 1.5, which is, we could say, maybe a 10-year-old, and it says education is boring, I just want to play. You can also prompt it to from order of consciousness, a person perspective that has its meaning making in stage 2, which is more like a teenager, roughly. Many teenagers are there. It says education is important. It helps us learn how to read, write, and do math. I want to be smart, so I'll pay attention in school. And that's very important. That's why we put our kids and our teenagers in school. They have to start to understand what we're doing here, and they need to start to follow the rules first of all in order to become functional members of society. Now that's very different from when you prompt it to be construct aware in fifth person perspective. It says education is the awakening of consciousness. The illumination of the mind and the liberation of the spirits is the journey from ignorance to wisdom. Education is not merely acquisition of knowledge, but the cultivation of understanding. Okay, so these are very different orders of consciousness, meaning making, and it comes from this, they call it the master trait. It's a master trait. It's not one specific personality or nothing you learned. It's really the way you perceive reality, and it can be classified in these different stages.